Ondo State. Good morning and welcome. My name is Adeolu Boyega, your host on the show. Now, this morning I will be playing also three gentlemen. I've got two legal practitioners and, of course, public affairs analysts in the house. Well, I have Ilemon Onoja. Is that correct?
Yes,
a barrister
please.
at law.
Yes, please.
Yeah, good to have you on the
It's
show.
fantastic being here.
All right. And also a regular guest, a friend of the show, special assistant to the governor of media, and of course a barrister at law to Benga Kimoyo is in the house. Good to have you, Benga.
Thanks for inviting me once again, and good morning to all our listeners at home.
All right. And the last but not the least, the chairman of Ondo State Scholarship Board, Jeff Abidoye. Good to have you, Jeff.
It's nice to be here.
All right.
Good day out there.
Now, I've got two legal practitioners, so it's so natural for me to talk about issues that revolve around the legality or illegality, as the case may be, of issues before us this morning. Now, we've got a court ruling from Justice Aban that the PDP should have another candidate. So if I should ask, is the PDP intending to replace Mr. Ita Ojegede as gubernatorial candidate in the forthcoming election?
Absolutely not,
Why?
is the answer to the question. Absolutely not. And we make it clear by saying absolutely not. The ruling of the Justice Aban on Friday of last week has created a lot of volcanic eruptions in the household of the opposition. The APC are celebrating, the AD perhaps rejoicing, the SDP think that, okay, the battle is over. But guess what? Those of us in the PDP, we're sleeping easy with our eyes closed. And the reason is because that judgment, I'm sorry to say, is not worth the paper that it's written on. And I make bold to say that in emphatic terms, based on very, very clear reasons. We don't want to condemn our professional colleagues that they have underhandedly obtained in the first instance a judgment in June and a ruling in October. But it is scary that our colleagues would descend so low. And I'll give an example for our listeners at home to understand the magnitude of what has been done. Just a simple example so that we can understand. If you owe your landlord rent and he demands the rent and you're in arrears for upwards of a year, he expects to get his money. So what he does is that he issues a petition through a lawyer and he takes you to court. He should give you an opportunity to appear in court to defend yourself. But guess what? It would be absurd for the landlord to ask his solicitor to bring somebody from his chambers to defend the tenant. Because what it means is that the tenant will not be defended. And it would be even more absurd for the tenant and the landlord to appear in court. And the landlord's solicitor or lawyer stands up and he says, this is the case. And then the tenant's lawyer stands up and says, I agree with everything the landlord's solicitor has said. And then the judge awards in favor of the landlord. Everybody knows that that is a kangaroo arrangement. Unfortunately, that's what happened in June. When they wanted to enforce that judgment, Poroya and Co. went to another firm of lawyers. They didn't go to the place they went before. So they shopped around and found another firm that could do business with them.
Probably they want the best brains.
Absolutely the best brains. But again, this time it wasn't a case of landlord and tenant. This time it was a case of sexual assault, a rape. So the accused rapist and the person who was alleging that she was raped, the same firm of solicitors or lawyers was also prosecuted and defending. What chance does the accused person have of being exonerated, especially when he's pleading his innocence? It is not done in the profession. It's called conflict of interest. And that's what happened in this case. if we go into the nitty-gritty of the case, if any judge had heard the full facts, PDP would not have stomached what they are supposed to have been stomaching in this case. And that is the only way that Poroye could have got any form of order or ruling. And that's why I said that we are sleeping with our eyes closed. We have woken up, went to the court on Monday morning and filed all the papers that need to be filed. That judgment is going to pale away into insignificance in the next few days.
Okay, now, Ilemana, let me ask this. Mr. Aita Ojegede SCN has said consistently that he's not a party to this suit. Why then is he appealing this?
Okay, that's a really good question. Typically, he, not being a party to the suit, he typically shouldn't be bothered by it. However, the enforcement of the suit, or of the judgment that was gotten in June, will affect his rights, his interests, his legal obligations. The enforcement of that judgment, as obtained, will abridge whatever rights he has as, or he's entitled to, as candidate of the PDP for the November 26 elections, if he stands by and watches it happen. The moment you become affected by the pronouncement of a court, the institution of judicial proceedings, that you become directly affected by the outcomes, you naturally are a necessary party to that suit.
A necessary
party to that suit. That's the way we call it. You know, and you use the word necessary in the most literal meaning, because if you're not there in court arguing your side of the case, and judgment is given and is enforced against you, it will abridge your rights, right? So it is necessary for you to come before the court and say, these are the issues, these are how the issues affect me, these are the reasons why those issues should not be determined in this manner. From his point of view, that is why it is simple. It's a very simple thing for him to apply for joinder. You know, whatever appeal that there is.
But if I were to ask, at this point in time, who is the candidate of the PDP?
As of today, to the best of my knowledge, and I have no reason to believe otherwise, the candidate of the PDP is Aita Ojegede SCN.
Despite the court ruling?
In spite of the court order, yes.
So you feel the court order should not be recognized in this instance?
Why I would say so is because to be able to situate that judgment, that order properly, you have to look at the wider context. You have to look at the bigger picture. Once you look at the bigger picture, you see that there are a lot of other issues that make it impossible to recognize anybody else but him. There's been other court pronouncements relating to the leadership tussle in the PDP at the national and at the national level in a manner that affects the state levels, that just ensure that it's next to impossible. And so instead of people to look at this, with the Justice Abang ruling of Friday, and look at that in isolation, you have to look at it in the context of the bigger picture. When you do that, you cannot escape that conclusion.
But some people see the Justice Abang's ruling as a judgment. They're treating it as a judgment. Now,
which one?
The latest one that says INEC should go ahead to replace the name of Mr. Aita Ojegede. So I think we should just differentiate between the ruling and the judgment.
If you look at, and again, I like the opportunity to be able to answer that question, because if you look at it, right, in the context again of PDP's leadership issues, too many people have placed premium on Justice Abang's rulings and not given care to any judgments that have been obtained from elsewhere.
Okay.
Now, there are 3 courts that have given, for instance, and this is by way of example, there are 3 courts, Justice Abdullahi Liman, Justice Valentine Ashi, Justice Wamaka Ogbonaya, 3 of them, who but if you read their judgments together, point to the validity and authenticity of the Ahmed Markafi-led caretaker committee. But for some reason, people place, and it's a reason I don't even understand.
Social media.
Even our security agencies place greater premium on a ruling over a judgment. Let me quickly differentiate. A ruling is rulings are given based on interlocutory applications, interlocutory or interim applications, which are merely motions that seek to determine one or two issues in the body of a lawsuit.
Okay.
A judgment is the final pronouncement of the court on a lawsuit. So you can say a ruling is a room within a house.
Okay.
A judgment is the entire compound. Do you see where I'm going to with this? So we're in a room in a house right now. This is a ruling. But when you look at Orange FM, the compound, the plot of land upon which you sit, that is a judgment. Now, people are looking at that room in the house and seeking to give it greater premium
Than
the entire compound. And this ought not to be so.
All right.
Now, particularly when you take into consideration another issue, that when courts of coordinate jurisdiction, equal jurisdiction, make pronouncements, our constitution, our court system says you cannot go from one room in this house where we have given a solution to an issue to another room in the house to look for that solution to that issue. You have to leave the entire compound. Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When judgments have come from one court, you cannot go to a court of equal jurisdiction. It's an aberration before the law. The only place you can go, as we say in the legal profession, is upstairs. Upstairs to the Court of Appeal. Sections 240 of the Constitution says, appeals from the Federal High Court, the High Court of a state, and a couple of other courts go directly to the Court of Appeal. So, when justices of the Federal High Court give judgments, how is it legal or valid to seek to overturn those judgments from from a learned brother, as they're so called, by a ruling? It's an aberration before the law.
Okay, now let's move forward. Jeff, how sellable is the Yitayo Mafo ticket?
Well, thank you so much. I must say this with every sense of duty and responsibility that the President Governor, His Excellency Olusegun Mimiko, has taken very critical, very damning, very far-reaching political decision in his political journey as a leader in the state. But I make bold to say it with every sense of duty and integrity that the best decision that he has consulted wide and have the backing of the heaven upon to take is the decision that we all jointly agree to say Eitan Jebede should be our candidate. Because I often say this, democracy has come to stay. And we might not be where we think we ought to be, but we actually no more where we used to be. When we started in 1999, it's an all-comer affair, where the Tom, Dick, and Harry, where the Jones and the Jacobs, where the Paul and Silas, anybody just jump into the ring. I'm a politician, put on the cap. I have some coins in my account, I have little dollars in my pocket, and then you begin to call themselves leaders and so many other things. We don't even know what it is. And so we are moving away where the boys are actually being separated from the men now. We are moving away where everybody just jump in and say I'm this and that and all that kind of thing. We are moving away from where anybody can just come and say I want to be governor in Ondo State. Because whether we like it or not now, without prejudice, among 36 states in this country, Ondo State is